Now the second lecture will be taken by Mr. Anuj Aggarwal sir. So Mr. Anuj Aggarwal is a practicing advocate, arbitrator and a qualified chartered accountant based in New Delhi. Sir is a commerce graduate from Shri College of Commerce and has obtained his law degree from Delhi University in 2004. He has a vast experience in handling various kinds of litigation before the Hon'ble Supreme Court of India and various high courts, commissions, forums, boards and tribunals. He was also nominated as the Additional Standing Counsel for the Government of Delhi before the Honorable High Court of Delhi. Being an accomplished arbitration lawyer, he would be advising the students on the nuances of arbitration and how to go about making a career in alternate dispute resolution mechanism. Now I would like to sir to please take over the floor.
I actually didn't know, how to start, where to end, what to say. I've been a part of all the discussions since yesterday. I've been a student myself, although back in our days in DU especially, there was very less sort of enthusiasm shown by the faculties or the management to conduct such kind of events
or even us,
because we were not aware. So for me, what I thought was that if you are here on a Sunday, and I would have probably written an autobiography just like Sanjoy sir through a known Gorongo, you would not have spent 5 rupees to even buy it. But on a Sunday, I would, since at your university's cost and your time, I can take this liberty to share whatever experiences as a lawyer I have dealt with in last 18 years of my career. First of all, I think all of you and we have been talking about one point, how to be successful. I think that's the entire aim of everything that you are doing here, right? From what you want to learn from your law school, what you wanted to hear from us in 2 days, and hereafter, whatever you wish to do is just to be successful. I just want to understand, I don't know, everybody's definition of success is very different. Probably in today's world and the kind of education system we are in, success is always measured by how much are you earning. That we all know. I'm sure if I'm going to ask you, that's the first thing that's going to come from you. Even when you don't believe, even if you're not going to say in it, that's the only measurement. Even in my own thoughts, I would feel very happy if I have a lavish bungalow which I want to be in, or the most fancy car that I can imagine to be myself in. But in these 18 years, if I am to test myself whether I am successful or not, I have probably 100 reasons to be full of regrets. That what did I do with myself? The kind of background I had come from, I never had to worry about my household expenses. I never had to worry about my electricity bills. I never had to worry about my phone bills, anything of that sort. Any of the basics. In fact, I had to never worry about my luxuries also. But then, why am I a lawyer in the first place? I qualified as a chartered accountant, and it's a very funny reason why I, got into chartered accountancy in the first place. And back in those times, again, there were hardly any entrances. So I topped school. One thing which has been good with me is I was always good with academics. So that's been my, safe cover. I was always good in academics. I could impress my teachers with my marks. I was the most notorious one. Till date they don't know this. Okay, they used to nominate me as the monitor of the class, and everybody, used to commit जितने कांड होते थे क्लास में वो मेरी नॉलेज से और कंसेंट से होते थे, ठीक है? एंड दे वुड कॉल मी, किसने किया? एंड मैं कहता था मैम हमारी क्लास से नहीं. एंड शी वुड टेक माई वर्ड फॉर इट एंड शी वुड से अच्छा ठीक है, इफ ही इज सेइंग देन आई एम assured. So now I topped the school and I went to DU, which was the standard thing to do, and I got into SRCC. I would advise, even if you are getting a free admission in SRCC, please don't go for it. If you have watched Three Idiots, you would realize that you don't make friends there. You make professional envies, or people who are envy of you. And I chose CA only because of one reason, that although I am third generation lawyer, but both my grandfather and my father are in tax practice. So it was very easy thing for me to complete my CA and to sit with them on the third desk in the same office and start earning like say 50,000-60,000 a month, which was a good amount to start with, to begin with, from day one. I just had to audit their clients and put my stamping on it, right? Then, when I actually went to audit the CA, went to audit Moser Bayer accounts, the first head that came to my knowledge, or I could visibly see the expenditure, P&L account. The first head which had the maximum amount written against it was legal. So I said, this is the field to be in. What am I doing as a chartered accountant? So money was initially the motivator. Second reason for me was, like I think Sonal ma'am also said yesterday, I didn't want to restrict myself to a desk. Howsoever handsome paying check I may be maybe getting at the end of the month, that was never the criteria. Thirdly, जब मैंने CA छोड़ी और law में आया, तो lot of my CA friends used to ask me, what is making you leave this profession? You're doing so well, you can do so well. So I used to simply ask them one question. Give me the name of the top chartered accountant of India. Nobody has an answer. There is no top chartered accountant of India. Even in perception, perceptional there is no name, right? But if I ask you, give me top 5 names of lawyers, as per your perception, give me top 5 names of lawyers you think are the topmost. You will probably come up with 10 names. And if I if I date it back to independence, probably you will have 40 names. Right? So there is something about this profession which makes it distinct from whichever profession you are in. I am not undermining any other profession. All that I am trying to say is that there is something which gives this profession an edge over and above the other professions for sure. And what is that edge? According to me, success to me is breaking your glass ceiling or breaking your limits. If you are able to break that ceiling for yourself, that can be anything. All of you come from different backgrounds. Even people who are from the same backgrounds, siblings, who are like, I have 2 sons, right? One is in 12th standard, other is in 10th standard. Both of them have their board exams. Now, if I compare them, they have their own challenges. And despite the fact they've been brought up by the same set of parents in the same background, they're absolutely different from each other. One has his own strong sides and the weaker sides. Other has completely different strong sides and the same set of genes, the same upbringing, same facilities, same house, same environment. So when we say, and I think it's been repeatedly said, that please don't compare yourself. There's no point of comparing yourself with anybody. You just have to, the only parameter is you. You can only challenge yourself. I'll just give you a very, it can't be as recent as this. I'm not a morning person any longer. Or I never was. Right? Today, all of us were being taken to Beda Ghat and Dhuadhar Falls. I had declared to my friends, मुझे माफ कर देना, मैं संडे को सुबह उठकर नहीं जाने वाला. But then it was a challenge for me. I pushed myself. I said, nahi, if I don't do it today, I don't know when is it going to happen next, and certainly not with them. even if I happen to make it something. So it was just a glass ceiling, or it was just a thought in my head which I had to overcome. It was nothing else. It's a very minuscule example. Point I am trying to bring home is that your challenges in life can be very different from anybody's challenges. You just have to keep improving yourself, and this profession gives you a very wide leeway to actually do that. And how does it give it to you? अगर आप medical negligence का case करोगे, you will study about human anatomy. अगर आप किसी भी field के case में जब भी आप engineering, there was, I remember 10 years back when I got a first private client for cat matter. It was an engineering matter. He had done some work which was not being accounted for. So I understood how measurement books are written. So I got a chance to understand a part of engineering as to how work is measured, how it is priced for, how it is paid, remunerated for. So this no other profession, you can have, you can lack several elements and still be a very good professional. But in law, what you are basically required to do is you have to be a good observer, you have to be a good orator, you have to be a good, you have to be quick in reading, perceiving things, interpreting them. So it involves dynamism like no other profession. You can be a very good surgeon even if you are a mute person. You can probably conduct surgeries only with your hand. You can be handicapped yourself, you can be a very good surgeon. But this profession requires you to be at your best in all times. And what keeps you at your best? I think more than anything else, it's the mental health that's the most important. And nobody talks about that in the law school. Nobody ever tells you how to deal with that stress which this profession brings with it. Nobody tells you when you are going inside the court, and the judge shouts at you, how are you supposed to take it? How are you supposed to respond to it? If you are in a position of authority, be it a constable at the road, if he has this authority of giving you a ticket or a challan, and you are at a wrong, he considers himself to be the supreme. Unless you bog him down कि मैं तो फला फला का बेटा हूँ, और बेटी. So, but he himself thinks to be, if he is right, he is right. And ours is a profession which deals with perceptions and interpretations. A judge would always feel that he is right. Now you also feel I am 100% right. No, he is a foolish person who is sitting over there. But you can't say that, you can't show that. So nobody tells you that how to maintain that balance between the bar, bench and your own head. So it becomes very taxing and it takes a toll on you eventually. And when a client comes to you, sometimes you know that he is trying to fool you. But still you have to listen to him because you have to take fees from him. You don't have to contradict him. So, but like Mr. Satyakam said, if your conscience does not allow you, please don't say yes, because उस वक्त आप फीस के लिए कॉम्प्रोमाइज कर दोगे, बाद में अपने आप को जस्टिफाई नहीं कर पाओगे. That's what you are doing, right? So there are so many things, so many aspects which nobody talks about. So I was very clear that I don't want to be a chartered accountant by the end of it. The only thing that I regret is that I could have saved those 5 years of effort which I had put in becoming a chartered accountant. Law was a very easy course in comparison to CA, and I would have probably enjoyed my college life better, and not be Chatur Mahalingam of the Three Idiots or the Imperial College, so to say. So now about mediation. So why and how did I get into this? In fact, the mediation movement started somewhere in mid of like around 2005 or 2006, it started becoming popular in Delhi High Court. And there was a lot of resistance from the bar. सबको लगता था मीडिएशन आ गई तो वकीलों का काम खत्म. And अगर हम ही लोग जिसके पास क्लाइंट आएगा मीडिएशन करवा देंगे उसकी, तो हमारे पास नेक्स्ट मैटर कैसे आएगा? जो हम a matter which we can stretch for 10 years and make a source of our livelihood or make a source of our income. I mean, if it gets resolved in say 10 months or 2 months, then who would fetch work to lawyers in the long run? So there was a lot of resistance. Thankfully, there were some sane minds back then who sort of. So how did mediation became popular in US? Mediation is basically a device, I think, meant for more developed minds and more developed societies. Because we were in caves and the only rule of law was whosoever was stronger than the other one, who could beat the other person and bring home justice, which would suit him. From there we came to the era where obviously the laws came and the courts came and the law enforcement came. Now in US, most of the laws are settled. So parties, even before they are actually entering into court, most of the times they know that what is the law on this subject, what can they expect as an outcome of the case, and what is the best outcome, what is the worst outcome. In India, we are like in the developing phase of law. So a lot of things are in the grey right now. And like what kind of a litigious society US is. Like every neighbor is, ready to sue the neighbor, even if the dog comes and pees on my, in the porch of my bungalow. So, and in India, litigation is still the last resort. जब आपके पास कोई resort नहीं बचता है. You have tried everything. You have tried, threatening them. You have tried to invoke police and everything. Then you resort to court. So what happens is over there, if we have say 100, they are like probably 1/5 of our population, if I'm not wrong, or maybe lesser. And despite that fact, they have their number of cases are much higher because they sue it at the drop of every hat. So in India, we think 100 times before reaching court. And the biggest reason is the pendency of cases. So what basically we are told, and I have conducted mediation trainings, and what we try to tell is that if, as an institution, if court becomes more efficient, if there is a justice which parties feel is the justice given to them, if once they approach court, then there would be not dearth of cases. There would be abundance of cases, because right now it's the last resort. Nobody thinks of it as a dispute resolution mechanism, a holistic dispute resolution mechanism. And when I say holistic, what makes it holistic? Can any judge or any court, for that matter, address emotions of the parties? हाँ, ये मेरी कोर्ट में रो पड़ा था तो इसलिए मैं इसको जजमेंट दे देता हूँ. ऐसा आज तक तो किसी कोर्ट में हुआ नहीं. ठीक है? But I have seen cases getting mediated and resolved जहाँ दो भाइयों का झगड़ा था. 15 साल से case pending tha, issues had not been framed in the matter for last 15 years because there were frivolous applications after applications. There were amendments of suits, amendment of pleadings. For 15 years they were, they were fighting tooth and nail with the help of the senior lawyers, and most of those senior lawyers became judges also. And some of them used to recuse themselves from the matter, and then so the matter was getting adjourned continuously. There were several reasons to get it adjourned. Matter was very complicated. The elder brother was adamant that I would not even shell out a single single rupee from the estate. After, I think, probably 50 rounds of mediation, the younger brother one day said, I don't want anything in this mediation. I just want your brotherly love. He just rose from his chair and he touched the feet of the elder brother. Elder brother hugged him and he said, now you take anything that you want. Anything that you want. If you want, and it was not just for the sake of saying it. Probably they cried their hearts out for half an hour. And they could actually, he was willing to forego everything, he was willing to give everything. We did not let that happen because it would not have been fair on our part to, get them swayed, let them get swayed in the emotions completely. But then I'm just trying to tell you that no court in the world will ever address emotions. One side would always feel cheated. बाकी सबको छोड़ दीजिए, Mukesh and Anil Ambani still feel that they have been, they have not got proper distribution of assets. Despite the fact that one is getting bloody thousands of crores of assets, he's feeling, I'm deprived of what I deserved. So nobody can get that satisfaction, and there will be one side challenging it in the next court of appeal or whatever. So to put quietus to emotions along with whatever is the perceived justice according to the parties, not according to any third person. And as a mediator, I am not even allowed to give them open suggestions, right? We have to let them, basically we have to give them a platform where they can we have to make them feel empowered to come together, to create that communication channel between them and to let them speak to each other. That's all we do as mediators. We can't snub a party. If one is trying to say something, we can't snub it. We let them say it. Then allow the other party to say whatever they feel like. It's completely like out of court discussion. So, when I talk about mediation, I feel that sometimes litigation helps us to get them on the mediation table also. Because if there is a party which is very stubborn, unless they are actually, they have suffered a bad order from the court, they would not come to the mediation table. So that also helps. But at the same time, so I'll give you another example. Levi's. Levi's sued one of the manufacturers of jeans in India, who was faking their trademark, who was putting the same label of Levi's, and they were trying to sell the same product in Indian market. So they sued them. It was again a very high, high stake matter and everything. And then Levi's realized that the quality of product that this local manufacturer was selling in the market was, if not superior, was at least equivalent to what Levi's is selling. So, after rounds of discussion, a resolution came where they appointed that local manufacturer as their local manufacturer officially. And they allowed him to sell for a margin. So that kind of a settlement could only be possible in mediation. No court could have ever given that order. According to judgment, either this side or that side would have won the matter. The other side would have appealed it further. So mediation is such a strong process where you are empowering the parties to take their own decision and allowing them to write their own judgment in their own way. The third and the last matter where what I would like to quote is, and Sanjoy sir knows that. So there was this lady who was a professor in college, and her husband was an IPS officer. There was no balance of power between the two. The lady came to me to seek an opinion as to what should she do. Should she file for a maintenance? Should she file for a divorce? Should she go for child custody? And all of that, the normal things. I advised her, let's give a mediation notice and let's see what his response is going to be. She says, he is very stubborn, he beats me. Oh, he is somebody who will never ever come for mediation. You are telling me mediation is a voluntary process. Why in the world would he come and settle it with me? I am nobody in front of him. He will not pay me anything. He will deprive me of my resources. He will deprive me of whatever independence that I have right now. I said, let's give it a try. In any case, even if a legal notice goes to him, the outcome is not going to be any better. So whatever your fears are, let's try and get it mediated. Honestly, when I suggested her this, I had no clue that how and when this matter can ever get mediated. Luckily, we approached like one of the senior most mediators in the mediation center. And so the very wise thing that man did was, first he introduced himself, he introduced the mediation process. Then on the next date, not on that date, not on the first sitting, in the second sitting he asked them to come back with their offers and proposals, right? And he asked them independently, like what do you expect your husband to give to you or provide for you? She said there's one flat, 50,000 a month, as maintenance, till the kids grow up and become independent. And one or two more things. And then he asked the husband independently that what are you willing to offer? He said there's one flat that I have which is spare. I can at best spare that. And I can provide her like 75,000 a month maintenance. And so whatever his proposal, his offer was, that was higher than the proposal. So there was no friction whatsoever. She thought that he would like to waste 10 years of her life in litigation. It didn't even take us 10 days to get this resolved. Because he himself probably was wanting to get out of the matrimony which was serving no purpose to either of them. So you just don't know. See, again, we all keep changing as individuals. I am sure you must have in your own life experienced this before. That the kind of person you were 2 years back or 5 years back or 10 years back, right? That's the best criteria to judge yourself. That's the best criteria to see. Instead of asking us, what is the best time, what would be the best way forward, we can only give you insights from our own life, from our own experiences probably. That may help you, that may not help you. But the best judge is always going to be you. Because when I started in profession, I used to drive a Zen, which was a 3 lakh rupees worth vehicle back then. Now I am driving a vehicle which is 20 lakhs worth. But if you ask me, I would probably want to go any time back in those days, because I used to enjoy myself much more back in those days. So that is why when I started by saying, if I have to tell you that what success means, I don't know what success means. For me, everything that we do in our life is only to attain happiness. Unless we are happy, we are contented, we are satisfied with what we have, I think none of us is happier or can't be happy or can't be successful. Right? So that's the only measure of success as far as I understand. I don't know. It can be very different for different people. But I'm sure none of you would put misery in your success story. Right? And we see it very often, like the lawyer who is probably driving a 5 crore vehicle would want a 10 crore vehicle next time. For him, that thing becomes redundant, useless. So, your own success is absolutely to be defined by you. Till the time it is motivating you, it is inspiring you to do better in life, it's a positive thing. But if it is bringing you discontentment, if it is bringing you dissatisfaction and frustration, I don't see any point in earning any amount of money. Now, So one more thing that I wanted to talk about is, and which Sonal ma'am requested me to talk about is, like, since we have been representing police, Mr. Satyakam, Gautam sir and I, so, and Sanjoy sir has done that in the past. So one thing, I mean, probably she wanted me to talk about it because we have been representing police and she probably deals with them quite often, is that how things can be very different from different points of view. As a normal citizen, as a litigant, as a society, as a person in the society, you always look at the police as a very corrupt department. People who are ready to mint money, who are there to harass you. But what we have seen is that they have their own limitations to work with, to work under. To my knowledge, an average hours that a policeman puts in at one stretch is 36 hours of duty, 36 to 48 hours of duty in one go, without a break. The break means going back to the police station, probably taking a nap on the chair, taking a shower there, changing there only, without going home, having food at odd hours, and then in the middle of the food the call would come, there is a murder committed, there is a traffic jam there is, kisi ka kutta kho gaya, so there would be a random call, some VIP. So the kind of pressures they have to deal with day in, day out, it's not only frustrating for lawyers. I mean, if it is frustrating for us, it can be 100 times more frustrating for them. So there was this public interest litigation which was a court on its own motion started by Delhi High Court after Nirbhaya, as a Nirbhaya aftermath, in which there was an assessment which was carried out as to if we want to make Delhi police as efficient as Scotland Yard, तो कितने लोग चाहिए, क्या उसमें infrastructure चाहिए. So an assessment came that Delhi police right now is manned by, say, about 15,000 or 20,000 people, but we need to reach 1 lakh people, 1 lakh personnel to reach a spot of crime within 3 minutes of commission of the crime, which is what the target of Scotland Yard is, 2 to 3 minutes of response time. So if we want to achieve that, we need at least 1 lakh more personnel to be deployed on roads or to be deployed in every part of the city. So the proposal went to the Home Ministry, and Home Ministry eventually said, we can give you 5,000 more. Take it or leave it. So that is the kind of challenge that they have to deal with. So each policeman is loaded with at least 4 times the work that he can humanly perform, or at least perform to the best of his ability. Now, so that was, completely off the track, but yeah, I just wanted to talk about it. And I have been writing several points since yesterday that, that were being discussed, and I thought I had a view over them. So one of the points that came, and Sanjoy sir was ready to write a book on it, was 101 ways of taking an adjournment. So I would just share a very personal anecdote, although it's being recorded, but the incident is, I think, now more than 14 years old, so I'm safe enough to quote it now. So there was this National Commission matter where I badly wanted an adjournment. I was not prepared. Now, I had tried every trick under the sun, and it seemed like frivolous because that particular judge never used to give adjournment to anybody. I called my associate to my chamber. He was a very diligent associate. In fact, I wish every senior has an associate like him. He was my first associate, stayed with me for 5 years. He used to look senior than I do. His appearances were more. So whenever he used to go to court and seek a passover, and I used to go on the second call, so the court would say, "Abhi tak aaye nahi aapke senior?" I said, "मैं ही senior हूँ." तो कहते, "सुबह कौन आया था?" I said, "He was my associate." कहते, "He was your associate?" I said, "Yes, sir." So then he came up with a brilliant idea. He said, sir, I have an idea. I can say to the court that there was, a very urgent reason for you to travel outside Delhi. I would book a ticket and I would cancel it. The cancellation charge is only 20 rupees. And I will carry that printout to court.
ये recording हो रहा है
To seek an adjournment. अब मेरी इतनी बुरी हालत थी that I agreed to his idea. I said, okay, ठीक है. He took that ticket to the court next day. And I don't know what came to the judge's head. Probably he was, he was already under guilt and he was not confident in his voice. I don't know what happened because I couldn't go to witness it. So he handed that ticket over to the judge, and judge tells his courtmaster, get it checked whether somebody travelled on this PNR or not. And this fellow calls me from court. He says, sir, गड़बड़ हो गई. I said, क्या हो गया? Sir, ऐसे हो गया. मैं कहा, अगर मेरे लाइसेंस कैंसिल हुआ तो I'll make sure कि मुझसे पहले तेरा होगा. मैं कहा, do whatever, but please sort this out. I am not going to be a party to this, and I am not going and coming and explaining this to court. He went to the court master. I don't know what he begged, pleaded, whatever. The court master said, "आप relax कीजिए, कुछ नहीं होगा." So it just came to my head when. So you can't include this reason in your book, is what I'm trying to tell you. Now, another thing that happened with me was very interesting. This was like when I started representing Union of India back in 2009. Justice Sikri was the acting chief. I think it was around that time, 9, 10 or must be maybe 11, during that period. So again, like I was desperate for an adjournment. Actually, usually what happens with the government matters is that they give it to you on the last minute and you get the brief and you are supposed to appear in court. And I realized that it's a regular matter and it was going on for some time, and now I couldn't afford to argue it. It was a lengthy matter with all the pleadings completed. So I needed time to read it. But I found it as when you start in the profession, you have no clue that what can be the good reasons to seek an adjournment also. So that book is very important. We'll request him to author that. But so I saw like 2 matters before mine. I saw somebody requesting and saying that, "My lords, I'm sorry, I could not prepare this matter. I was not feeling well." This seems like a very, because I only feel that how am I feeling. So I can probably go to the judge and say that, "My lords, I'm not feeling well. I was not feeling well last night. So I could not prepare it." So I went to him, he very graciously allowed the adjournment. He said, "Okay, how much time do you need?" I said, "My lords, any time after 2 weeks would be good for me." He said, "Okay, adjourn." And it got adjourned by 3 months. Now what happens is that I was at a dinner that evening, which happened to be the Shri College alumni dinner. And I was holding a glass of wine in my hand, and I was I was loitering around in the venue, full. I think I was probably 2 drinks down already. And suddenly I was exiting that door supposedly, and I saw Justice Sikri entering that door. He was the chief guest, and I had no clue that he's from my same college. That was the first ever alumni dinner held at Taj by our college. So nobody had any clue. So they had invited him last minute, and it was never written that he is the chief guest or whatever, but he was supposedly the chief guest. He was entering the door, and while I was exiting it, so I had no place to either go left or right or to hide. And he looks at me and this is a very important lesson that I learned, I'll tell you. And the moment he sees me, he says, "The doctor must have prescribed the liquid diet." And look at the grace of the man. I mean, after that, I was with him for say 10-15 minutes out of guilt. And he did not raise that as an issue. It was never ever that he ever brought it up in his conversations or even during court appearances after that. And the kind of wit humor, intelligence and memory that was on display in that split of a second. He could have probably said 100 things. I don't know. He could have reacted. Probably I would have been in his place. I would have felt cheated. I would have felt that this lawyer was trying to deceive me. I mean, it's such a junior lawyer. And one thing that I learned that day was that everyone in court notices you. So, because I took that chance just because I thought that who would remember me? He doesn't know me. I am nobody for him. I am a new entrant to court. So I thought that nobody would recognize me. He would not recognize me. But I was surprised. I mean, in a split of a second, not only he recognized me, he remembered the case, one of the 50s that he would have handled that day. He remembered my face, exactly the reason why I sought adjournment. He came up with that repartee, and it was brilliant. So you have to realize that you are dealing with the best of the minds in the country, or probably in the world. So you just can't be very loose in your conversations in court. You have to be there like prepared. You have to be there with the best foot forward. And the other thing that what gives me satisfaction ever is if and unless I put in my best effort in any matter. If I put my best in court, I've displayed my best in court despite that I don't get an order. I have the satisfaction, I have the utmost satisfaction. The criteria that I laid down for success, for measuring success. That day I feel that I couldn't have done better than this, at least by my standards. Somebody else could have. I couldn't have done better than this. That is the day when I don't feel regretful of any decision, whether it's in my favor. Obviously I'm happier, but even if it is not in my favor, I feel that okay, I couldn't have done better than this. But there have been instances where I've got a favorable order despite not being best prepared in the matter. Is the day when I don't feel I can't satisfy my own conscience. I feel I could have done better. I could have stated these 2 more points, or I could have assisted the court. So the thoughts keep haunting my mind that I could have presented it in this manner rather than saying that word. I could have used this expression. So all of those thoughts keep coming to my mind. So the only criteria for success, I just wanted to elaborate on this a little. It seems to you, आए दिल्ली से आए, हाँ ठीक है, जो तो खुद कर रहे हैं कर ही रहे हैं, दिल्ली में बैठे हैं, हमें कह रहे हैं दिल्ली में मत आओ, और ये मतलब सक्सेसफुल बोल के चले गए, कुछ भी बोल के चले गए, हाँ भाई you have to just be better than a better version of yours. But I just wanted to bring home that point with live examples that I have faced in my life. That's how I have felt about it. Your journey will be absolutely different. You just don't know what's going to happen. The other day I was so keen on watching Drishyam with my wife, and we had booked the tickets. We couldn't go. So we didn't know 3 hours in advance or 4 hours in advance that we could not go and watch the movie. And we try to plan out entire life. It's good to be obviously directed with inspirations and your goals, but then there will be always your own exceptional story or your own exclusive story, and you would get to know. You just have to stay connected with yourself. That's the key. And if you're connected to yourself, you will get all the answers. You will keep getting them, and you will keep sorting them in your head also. That okay, this thing happened with me because of this reason. So it will always give you answers, and your answer will never match mine. It will be a different answer, right? And so one comparison I think which Sanjoy sir also drew, like ours is an industry like Bollywood. You can probably be studying with sons or daughters of some judges or the lineages. They can be celebrated lineages. Amitabh Bachchan is the best example. Probably there is no other superstar bigger than him. And Abhishek Bachchan is another example. So it can probably give you a platform to begin with. It can definitely, it can make you skip those 2-3 years of struggle, hard struggle. But eventually, if you will see, or if you will look back, if you have given your best, you will reach some place because you are required. Right now, the problem is not that of, the problem is of abundance. If when we also scrutinize applications in our office, last year, I think there is a website called Internshala. So I had posted a requirement of an intern on that website. And I was amazed to see that there were like 300, 400 applications which I received in 2 days. So it was a challenge even for us. It becomes a challenge for us to, hire people. I do how to decide. So what I try to tell them is that if you are willing to learn, if you are willing to put in that hard work, is all that I want to see in you. Because there is no limit to learning. You will keep learning all your life thereafter. Only if you have an urge to learn. And if you have urge to learn, to admit your mistakes, to correct them the next time, that's good enough. There is no other thing that you need to do. You will just keep improving yourself. And you will keep excelling also, automatically. Don't have to worry. Don't have to worry about the calculations in mathematics. In fact, for that matter, I am one of the most ignorant lawyers. I hardly know what goes on in my surroundings. And I am happy, I feel happy about that. I have a short-term memory. That also I feel blessed about at times. That I have not too much of information to process in my head. But if you have the source of that information and if you have the ability to process that information, that's better. Right? But you don't have to feel bogged down by what is happening around you. You don't have to feel bogged down by your peers. You don't have to compare yourself with them. Because that will never ever let you function in the right frame of mind. Now nobody tells you how to charge fee. And it is one of the aspects that I struggle with even today. I came to this profession only since I got inspired by my grandfather. He always used to say, शेर होता है वकील, वकील का कोई मैच नहीं है, वकील बनियो. So I always used to think ऐसे ही बोलते हैं, since he is a lawyer इसलिए बोल देते हैं. But then I realized that this profession, like I in the beginning said, it gives you an edge over and above every other profession. Just to give you a very small example, no other profession or professional is allowed to function from basements in Delhi. It's considered as a commercial activity. And basements are being allowed to function by 4 professions right now, only because lawyers are functioning from basements. Because all the judges and their sons have their offices in basements. So they can't seal them for the commercial activities which are being carried out from basements. Otherwise, you take it from me, you don't allow lawyers to work function from them, there will be a court order next day that no other commercial activity would take place. You are so close to the quarters in power. During COVID, all of us did COVID management cases. Oxygen was not being provided to the citizens. Hospital beds were not being provided. Vaccinations, remdesivir, there were issues after issues. During the hearings were being conducted from 10:30 in the morning till 10:30 in the night. Even if a random lawyer would log in to the hearing and say, "My lords, such and such lawyer is lying outside that hospital and he is not being given bed," there would be immediately an order, provide him with a bed. Provide him the bed. Or give him remdesivir. So this profession comes with power, but at the same time it comes with equal responsibilities. And that is where we need to actually set an example, because we are seen as rowdies. Like it's not only police which carries a negative image in the public's mind. I think lawyers carry much more negative image than the police themselves. And that's because we don't act responsibly. So if we are close to the power, if we are enjoying those privileges, we are equally responsible to use them with responsibility, or to avail of them with a sense of responsibility. And this is the age where you should try and do crazy things. Crazy things in the sense that you should not be fearful that what will happen next. Don't curb yourself. Probably this is the time you should be interning with not 5, 6, 7. You should be interning with probably 15, 20, 25, 30 places. And it's why I'm saying this is because sometimes it is difficult to know that what you are meant for, but it is easier to figure out what you are not meant for. So if you are interning with a corporate, you would get to know easily that you are not meant for. Can I see that slip, please?
No.
So if you are not meant for corporate, it will eliminate your option as a corporate. If you are not meant for, commercial law, for instance, it doesn't give you any satisfaction, you will eliminate that. This is the time to explore your interest. This is the time to explore yourself. So please go and try, like ma'am said, NGOs. Do that. Because this is the time when you can actually be experimental. And you can find out that where exactly your interest lies. Probably out of 20 spheres, you will be able to narrow it down to 2 or 3. And then you can see them as a serious option. Eventually as a lawyer, you will be in the field where your client takes you, because that is where, you would be, ultimately you would be taken by. But at least to figure your own self or your own interest, you should explore and experiment as much as possible at this age. So one of the time dikha raha tha, so 10 minutes. So one of the judges, I just wanted to quote him, although he was not one of the favorite judges of anyone, but yeah, at the time of his retirement, he gave a farewell speech in the canteen. So he jokingly said that I am very grateful to this profession, because this profession not only gave me wife, but it gave her blood to keep her alive. So what he meant was that his wife was actually so his wife was a lawyer. He met her in the profession and then they got married. And when he got admitted in a hospital for a surgery and they required 6 units of blood, so he simply, like through word of mouth, there were 6 gentlemen who came, donated the blood, and their identities are not known to him till date. He says they never, came and met him or tried to show that they were sort of giving him any favor. But they came, donated the blood, and went away. So the point that I am trying to make here is, see, if you are a doctor, they have associations, I am sure. But all the doctors are functioning either in their clinics or at best in a hospital, where there will be 15 or 20 other doctors. If you are an engineer, probably you are engaged in a corporate where there will be 15 or 20 more engineers working with you, or maybe 100. If you are a chartered accountant, you are independently working from your office or a firm at best of 4 or 5 partners. A lawyer is a profession which gives you a platform on daily basis, where you come to court, you interact with your peers, you get to see them, you get to meet them, just like you do it in college or school, or you get the passions from the judges together. You bitch about the judge together like you bitch about your teachers here, or the principal, or whosoever. And so it gives you a platform, it gives you that environment of coziness with your peers and with your colleagues. No other profession gives you that. So and in the need of trouble, in the times of trouble, when you need someone. So it gives you that, support system also. And also the fact, I have, felt it this way. Like whenever I am in a bad mood at the start of the day, the moment I enter court, and I have to, even for the purpose of formality, even for the sake of formality, I have to exchange smiles with 20 people, random people and standing in court whom I know very well. It automatically enlightens my day or my mood. So I'm just trying to share very off the beat things with you, which obviously they won't be, and nobody will be telling you at law school. But this again is a very important aspect of being a lawyer, and it gives me immense pleasure to be part of that fraternity, to be part of that ecosystem where we exist together. So one anecdote that I remembered, so one of my friends actually lost a matter. So client came to him. He said, अब क्या करें वकील साहब, केस तो हार गए. तो पहले तो 15-20 minutes he indulged him in a conversation. He tried to console him. He tried to tell him judge पागल था, केस अच्छा था, सुना नहीं, this that, normal tactics जो होते हैं. And then he took out a book from his shelf. And he unwrapped it and he showed him a provision कि देखो हम इस provision में आपकी अपील डालेंगे. तो क्लाइंट पहले तो देखता रहा, 5-15-20 मिनट से सुन ही रहा था, परेशान वैसे ही था, फ्रस्ट्रेटेड भी था, मन उसका होगा कि मारूं उसको पकड़ के. कहता वकील साहब ये किताब पहले निकाल ली होती तो शायद हम जीत भी गए होते. And I think more or less whatever I had in my head. There was this mediation matter which I just got settled like last Friday. It was between a mother and a daughter, essentially. I mean, the girl had fled away with a Muslim boy, intercaste marriage, and they were not accepting. In fact, they extended threatenings to the boy and the girl, and it was referred to mediation. So the mother was being very cantankerous. And despite the fact that the settlement proceedings were going on like for last 4 months, and we had arrived at a settlement like a month ago. On the day of signing, the mother said कि मैंने तो इसको जितनी चीज़ें दी हैं मुझे सब वापस चाहिए. तो बताइए क्या चाहिए. तो she said एक earring था, एक necklace था, और एक स्कूटी थी, तो वो सब वापस चाहिए. तो I could see कि it's just a way to basically not enter into settlement, and now she is sort of trying to create a hurdle because she can't see. तो problem हमारी society में, why I said कि हमें mediation is a tool for a developed society. What did I mean by that? In a developed society or in a developed mind, you will worry about your own happiness rather than feeling miserable because of somebody else's happiness. So अब उसको चिंता ये हो रही थी कि बेटी को मैं सुख कैसे दे दूं, और how do I accept the matrimony when I am against it. So she wanted to basically, so I made the mother sit in the room alag se, and then I addressed her emotions. I said, we absolutely can't rule out whatever you have done for your daughter, but I can give it to you in writing that if any one of us, we were like 15-20 people in the room. So usse pehle I told her, if any of us are asked by our mothers to compensate for the love and for whatever she has done for us in life, if she wants that compensation, हम में से किसी की औकात नहीं है कि वो पे कर सके. ठीक है, तो अब ये आपका डिसीजन है कि अब आप अपनी बेटी का फ्यूचर देखना है या पास्ट की वजह से उसको खराब करना है. तो शी सेड मुझे तो दुखी होगा उसको दुख देख के. मैंने कहा एग्जैक्टली माई पॉइंट. अगर वो दुखी होगी तो दुख ही होगा आपको, सुख नहीं हो सकता आपको. ठीक है. एंड आज की डेट में अगर आपको लगता है कि ये सेटलमेंट साइन करके आप उसको दुख दे रहे हो या किसी भी तरीके से आपका रिस्पेक्ट बढ़ जाएगा या शी वुड कम बैक टू यू एवर, मैं कहा फॉरगेट अबाउट इट. शी वुड बी द फर्स्ट वन टू फॉरगेट अबाउट यू, रादर कर्स यू. So sometimes we have to give perspective to the parties while we are in mediation, which sort of, and one very important aspect that as lawyers or as mediators or as judges we are never taught at law school is the psychology. Nobody talks about psychology. I mean, I don't understand how can there be a lawyer or a judge or a mediator without any training, a formal training of the sort. I mean, we are dealing with humans day in, day out. The moment the client steps into your chamber, there is a psychology at play. You are judging him. The client is judging you. You are judging him. You are trying to find faults in his story. Likewise, when you are representing his case in court, the judge is doing the same to you. The moment you enter the court, how you are standing, how you are talking, what exactly is the use of words, you are being judged. And there is no psychology which is being taught. So, one of the important aspects that come to my mind is that people who are good naturally in psychology do well in our profession. Others don't. So, but there has to be some sort of assessment and there has to be some sort of development of those skills. But nobody talks about it. Yeah, I think that's more or less about it.
Any questions?
You mentioned about how adjournment, one ended one ways of having adjournment. But there is other side of the coin also. Like there was a matter and I was just returning in that office and I saw the file and I was knowing that somewhere down the line the man in there is innocent. So the whole night I prepared for, I researched for it basically and prepared the matter, whatever I could get, small efforts I could put and I prepared the thing and I got something. In medical jurisprudence that was missing and I gave it to him. So it was like, okay, we will get paid for the matter on the basis of that. I see this one also. We entered in the court and the thing we hear is adjournment. Because some other advocate was also getting entered in the matter or something like that, government had paid that. So if something like that happens, it hits you somewhere. And
it hits your conscience most of all.
It does.
Because you want to secure justice for your client at the earliest.
Yes. But at the same time, we also have government advocate in our office. So we know how 20-30 cases are given to you just before a night. And it is not possible to look every case with that same energy. So how to tackle this situation, like you also...
Like if you are being given adjournment in a matter against your wishes and against the wishes of your client.
Yeah. You feel like that something wrong has happened to you, but you also know the perspective that government counsel has also limitations.
One thing that you will have to always take into stride is even judges are overloaded. And if I look at them now, I feel pity. You are a lawyer. You would be probably representing at best, if you are the top lawyer of the court, you would be having 20-25 cases a day. You still have to hear those 25 clients' story and say, go and represent their best interest in court. A judge has to hear on an average 50 to 60 cases in a day, which are listed before him. There are both sides lawyers, right? So 120 or 100 lawyers effectively that he has to deal with. One of them is certainly making a fool of him. At least one of them. At one point. Both of them may be trying to in different points. But at least at one point, one of them is trying to make a fool of him. And then to keep his right frame of mind to listen to that case. Supposingly if I am standing here the whole day, right now you ask me a question, somebody else may ask a question, there may be 50 questions by the end of the day. I may not be able to pay attention at the same level again. Look at the judge's plight. He is also sitting there throughout the day for a meager salary, which probably he was earning 10 years back, earlier in his profession, like 2 to 3 lakhs is what they get in hand. So any lawyer usually at that stage earns it very comfortably or much more. So one thing that you have, since it's an ecosystem, you can't be rash to the judge. You can't be brash about it. You can't show your anger or angst. All that you can do is you can request that what is the urgency in your matter and ask him to use his intelligence rather than taking that burden upon yourself. Just pass on that burden to the judge on his conscience to take a call and then to fix a date as short as possible. And then you can tell your client that I did my best. So if you would not say that, if you would not make that effort, is the day you would feel that I did not do enough. But if you have made that request, even after that, if judge is not listening to you, then it's your client's fate. Or it's your fate, or your client's fate, mixed together. So you just can put in your best effort, that's all.
You feel guilty sometimes.
Yes, you do, but that's the system. There are so many things to feel guilty about. Our country has 125 crore people. There are not enough opportunities. We should feel guilty about that too. But there is few things which are within your control, few things which are beyond your control. So there's no point taking it too heavy on your heart.
One more perspective which you talk about, learning in much more places and exploring much more. But there is limitation. Like we are from tier 2 city right now. We have limitations on what sort of office we can
Right.
So we need much more time because 28 days are not going to be enough.
To understand any working space.
Yes. It's not going to be enough. But we have only that much amount of time because everything is hard. So how to tackle this particular situation right now? The whole legal system is going through it. We all as a law student right now also know college also we are feeling this. We need much more time for interning and all. Because first thing is getting internship. Second thing is if we get it, we need much more amount of time, at least more than 45 days or something like that.
See, what I feel is usually most of the interns that we also see are not very serious about putting in their best effort. So for them, it's understandable that the first 2 or 3 days, especially if it's your first internship in any court, it takes you 2 to 3 days to get accustomed to the environment around you. You stop getting overwhelmed by the environment that you see there. But the only way I feel personally, like if I am to intern with somebody, is to probably go in court after reading the files which are listed for the day. Or if supposedly in some of the offices what happens is that files travel with the senior, but now most of the records are digitized, so you can also have a copy to read. But in earlier days, like the physical files used to travel with the senior because the matters are listed for the next day and he has to read those files. So what you can do is you can plan your days 3 days in ahead. Like whatever is listed 3 days after, you can read them in advance so that that cycle starts, and whenever you are present in court, you know what is being discussed in court. I remember as in my first job in Supreme Court, probably for first 3 or 4 months, I could understand each and every word in the file, right? I could not understand what is being discussed in court because the terms were alien to me, and it happens with everybody unless and until they are explained. So I remember this anecdote again, like there used to be Justice Geeta Mittal in our court, and she used to operate more from heart than using the legal brains. So, and whenever my matter used to get listed before her, I would find the softest point in the matter to plead as the first thing before her. Like there was a matter where my client forgot to fill up one particular column because of which his job application got rejected. I knew it's a decided matter that he has to own this fault of his. Now, I started by saying that relationships petitioner is from Jharkhand. There are no accessibility to the systems. There are cyber cafes. They go to cyber cafes to get those job applications filled up online. The cyber cafe attendant committed this mistake. I mean, how in the world? And it was only rejected because he had not shown the force preference. Whether he wanted to be in the BSF or CRPF or CISF. No, he had to pick one of them. He had not. So they said, we can't give you recruitment. He had successfully cleared the exam. He had successfully cleared the interview. He was up in the merit list. Just because he had not exercised an option, the first step should have been to reject his candidature. But it was done at the last stage. So the first thing that I started, so you have to mold your arguments looking at the judge also. The same argument before any other judge would probably not have worked. So she said, he's absolutely right. Give it to him. So she did not wait for any reply. She saw this is the only controversy, this is the only order which needs to be struck down. She struck it down. So you just have to keep, so that is why I said psychology. You have to understand the judge, you have to understand the opposite counsel, you have to understand your client.
I'm taking note of it also. Yes, but for that part, as an intern.
As an intern, so what I was trying to say was that unless you have read the file, you will never be able to understand what's going on in court.
Yes, sir.
So go after preparing, at least in your own terms, in your own ways, read the file, know the context of the matter, know the subject matter, whatever best you can do in it at that stage, you go with that in court and then see what is being really argued in court. Is it in consonance with what you had thought? Is it in lines with what you had actually applied your brain to? The same proposition, were you giving the same emphasis which is being actually argued in court before the judge? It can be very different. This is one cruel profession. We are building our own competitors. You have to understand that too. Nobody is going to train you. We are only going to give you work so that we get help in return. We are seeking help. But then at the same time, you have to perform your best so that you keep learning and evolving. So nobody is going to sit with you, no senior would sit with you, he would ask you to mark a line. We are not teachers. We are not professors. That's what law school does to you, and this is very important. So this series is not to in any way undermine what is being done in law school or at law school. They are teaching you the way it should be taught. But then how to apply it is absolutely up to you.
So Anuj, to his point on time, our batch was the only year that you could not register as with the Bar Council if you hadn't completed 1 year of internship post getting your degree.
And it's one of the most unfortunate things that they are making judges even without a single days of work as a requirement or as a criteria. As standing counsels, we are required to put in 10 years of practice before we become standing counsels for the government. And for becoming a judge who is deciding the lives of the people from day one, he has not even a single day's experience. Then they haggle with the lawyers over dates. That you are asking for 2 months, which is too long a period, or why not Wednesday? I want to see you on Wednesday only. Why not? Why Thursday? Because they haven't themselves been in that position. They don't understand the plight of the lawyers. Thank you.
I deem it to be a great privilege to express my heartfelt gratitude to respected Anuj Aggarwal sir for gracing our institution with his inspirational thoughts and experiences. Your words are indeed perched deep down in our minds. Thank you so much, sir.